Hey, Austin, how are you?
Hi, Will. Nice to meet you.
To meet you. Thanks for joining me and congrats on this latest movie of yours.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, it was a wonderful cast, such a, you know, fun, entertaining movie and just a lot going on in a good way. So congrats.
Oh, good. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, of course. And I was reading about it. I understand it's like loosely inspired by some real life goings on, in Hollywood in the past. And as co-writer of the movie, I was curious, when you were writing and then ultimately shooting this movie, did you find yourself often returning to that source material, or did it, sort of become its own thing once production kicked off and you found that it just became its own sort of original story at that point?
Yeah, I would say definitely the latter. I think that we really it's really sort of just loosely inspired by some of those events, and then early on we sort of wanted to just make it its own thing and its own movie, and so we once there was that sort of point of departure, that we basically never returned to it again.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, it's it's such a crazy story and your story, of course. And it's hard to believe things like this can happen in real life. So um, and I like I'm such a film noir buff in real life. I took a course on it in college, and I saw that you sort of coined this movie a sunshine noir.
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit more about that? How,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that early on there was a lot of conversations with people that we were talking to, sort of, what kind of movie is this? That was something that we had to explain to people a lot. And they would sort of, ask, is it funny or is it a thriller or what? And we would, I would kind of have to say, well, it's both, and hopefully not at the disservice of either. It can deliver on both of those things without half stepping either. And when a friend of mine said Sunshine Noir to describe it, and when he said that, that really sort of unlocked a lot of things for people, because even if you don't know what that is, and people have different ideas of it, but when you say that, I think it sort of puts an image in your head that is true to what this movie is, or at least to me. A Sunshine Noir is a noir that is where all the sort of darkness and seedy underbelly comes out into the light of day and is gets sunburned, and it's sort of a little bit of like a noir on tilt. It has a a reality that you're not sure if you can really buy into, a reality if you're not sure if you're being told the truth, and I think it can be a little funnier, and it can be a little weirder, than a classic sort of traditional noir. And so that sort of gave us the latitude and the freedom to kind of make this movie the way that we kind of always knew that we wanted to.
of course. Yeah, that's great. That's interesting to hear, of course. And I have to say, I'm such a fan of Give Me Future.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Seriously, it's one of my favorite documentaries. Such a great, modern. Just love how it was shot, and I mean, it also helps. I'm such a major Laser fan, so.
Oh, cool.
But I think even if you're not familiar with, that group, it's such a cool, just stylish, important story to tell. And then, seeing this movie, I couldn't help but see, because I mean, skincare is so stylish and has, I thought, sort of a similar kind of dreamy feels with some of those tracking shots and just, beautifully shot both projects. And for you, like when you were, moving, shooting skincare, did you find yourself trying to carry over some of those stylish choices from Give Me Future on purpose, or did you just sort of, in retrospect, be like, oh, I guess I do sort of see some kind of similarities there?
Well, yeah, well, I think there's a lot of DNA, I think that they share, and I think that as different of movies as they are, there is some key personnel where Deering Regan, who is one of the writers of the film, was the DP of Give Me Future, and so
Okay.
he he brought this project up to me for the first time when we were in Havana shooting our last leg of Give Me Future, and George Bianchini, who is the camera operator and the steady cam operator, was the steady cam operator on Give Me Future, and that's where we met the first time. We needed a steady cam guy to come down to Cuba, and we needed someone to do it, quickly, and he was a fan of the music, and I was sent his reel, and it had Single Ladies by Beyonce on it. That was the first thing on the reel, and I said, he has the job, bring him down. And we became fast friends, and he came out and did the opping on this, and so he opped all the shots for our DP Chris Ripley and all the Steadicam shots. So I think there is some DNA that sort of connects them, and I think a lot of my interests remain the same, and things that attract me to films, and breaking off with certain characters that are maybe not the main character and going into their lives for a second. That sort of stuff, I think, is present in both films, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm probably not articulating it well, but once I found out that, the director of, was it sort of made sense to me, and
That's awesome. I'm glad that you could connect those, because they feel worlds.
Totally.
I mean, I feel like they must seem worlds apart, but to me, obviously, I made both of them. So
Well, of course. I mean, obviously, completely different stories, all that, but no, but that's great to hear, and I'm sure it's great, having the same sort of team for both projects. So that's great.
Yeah.
And the cast, I mean, for skincare, the list goes on, and not just Elizabeth Banks, but that whole supporting cast. So I was curious what it was like for you working with such a talented ensemble for this project.
It was a dream come true. It's really, it sounds like a cliche to say, but it's hard to describe it any other way. When Elizabeth came on, that felt like a huge turning point in the film, and it suddenly felt very real, and she was someone that we had imagined in this role from the absolute beginning, and we all just assumed that she would never do it, because she is Elizabeth Banks, and she's so busy, and she's an amazing director and producer and actor and doing all these things. So and then when she wanted to do it, that was obviously so exciting for us. And I mean, the cast from top to bottom is just, it's the only way this movie exists, is that we were blessed to have these people agree to do the movie, because we shot in 18 days, and Louis Pullman and Nathan Fillion and Michaela J. Rodriguez and Luis Gerardo Méndez and Eric Palladino and John Billingsley and Ella Balinska, everyone was just coming out and ready to do it, and ready to give it their all, and was really unafraid. And I think it sort of is a little bit of they're all such great actors, but I think when you have someone like Elizabeth in your lead role, and she's so fearless, and she's so unafraid to go there at any moment, and that's what I loved in all of her movies that I've watched my entire life, is that she just was unafraid to rub barbecue sauce all over her face or do whatever, like she just is never scared. And that's what we needed for this role. And it really, I think, set the tone for everyone, and everybody sort of works differently. I could gush about this cast forever, but everybody sort of works differently, and everyone's all over the place. And Elizabeth and I got a little bit of rehearsal and a little bit of time to go through the script together, which was amazing. And Louis was on set for Outer Range, and when he wasn't working, he was sending me self-help videos that he was recording himself, and we were kind of finding Jordan's voice and what kind of jewelry he wore and all that sort of stuff. And so it was really a joy to just every day go to work and get to watch these actors make such incredible choices that surprised me and brought these characters to life in a new way and added new dimensions and changed maybe who they were originally into something much richer and much deeper.
Yeah, of course. And I think Elizabeth and Nathan had worked together on a long lost horror movie.
And James Gunn's first movie, Slither. Yeah. And so Nathan we didn't have for very many days, but they're really good, really old friends. I don't know. Yeah, they're really old friends. And they've worked together a bunch. And so being able to play those scenes with them together,
Yeah.
the one in the car was the first one we did.
Okay.
And it was just so incredible to watch them do it. Because they're both incredible actors and they have this shorthand where they could just immediately go for it and immediately push the scene into all these uncomfortable places without ever making each other uncomfortable, while they both just felt so safe and were able to keep up with each other. And so that, I think, their relationship was a huge benefit for us, because I think it comes, I think that we were able to do those scenes in the amount of time that we had because they had that groundwork. And it's true of Luis as well, because Luis and Elizabeth had worked together on Charlie's Angels, so they had a shorthand already. And Ella was also in Charlie's Angels, so when they had that crazy scene between the three of them, that was Ella's first day on the movie. That was the first scene she did. And
Oh,
they were able to just all get into it so quickly and go to these crazy high places without second guessing it for a second.
yeah. Yeah, that's great. I'm pretty sure I saw Slither in theaters, so it's like
Yeah,
really
yeah, it's
good
cool.
connection.
It's a
No,
good,
that's
it's a good
great. Those
movie.
other connections. I mean, yeah, small world. That's great. And as we talked about, plenty of fun little noir elements in skincare. I have to ask, do you have a favorite of all time film noir?
That's a real no, because there's too many great ones, and it depends on what I'm thinking about. It depends on what mood I'm in, because we have our classic noir and
Yeah,
we have our classic LA
neo
noir.
noir.
Yeah, exactly. And so, a bunch of the ones that we were thinking about on this one as, Body Heat and The Long Goodbye and obviously all the Coens movies, which are so noir tinged, and Fargo, which is this Minnesota noir and but it goes, but like I was deep in kind of all of them and all the movies and also the books and Double Indemnity and all the James
Yeah.
M. Cain books, I was reading, and all the Raymond Chandler novels, Philip Marlowe novels you're looking at, and a ton of Patricia Highsmith, because that has that sort of like sociopathic bent to it, that I think is present in this movie. And yeah, I really look to a lot of those for for inspiration throughout the process and in writing and even, in prep and even in editing.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I had to ask. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
of
a tough
course. Do you have a
question.
favorite one?
Uh, I mean, neo noir, I kind usual suspects is cool.
Sure.
I mean, that class that I took, we talked about No Country for Old Men,
Oh yeah, one of my all-time faves. Yeah.
But we also read the books, those that you mentioned, like we read Maltese Falcon and we read
Yeah.
like Kill Shot, which I guess I don't even know if I saw the movie, but we read the book. That was a good one. But anyways, yeah, the list goes on. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. But cool. Yeah, well, and I also, I mean, no spoilers, but I love, in skincare, Angel's personal life when you see him at home, like having those fun little moments. And I was curious if you wanted to share like what you thought was the significance of revealing those, that crazy little private life he has when he's
Well,
not at his studio.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that basically our intention was always that in any of these scenes, you could just follow any individual character off into their own world and into their own life, and they would be dealing with sort of their own drama and their own hardship and their own personal lives, and secret lives. And so with Angel, it really felt like this opportunity to get to show his sort of personal life, and that maybe we weren't you know the way the reality versus how we are perceiving it and how the different characters are perceiving it, and that maybe he's going through kind of his own thing that we're not even seeing, and his mind is in a different movie, like his mind is about something totally different. And so we tried to do that, I think, with a lot of the characters and all the characters really. And that moment with him was really it was really important to me that we got to step into his world for a second and kind of see what was going on, because he's killing it so hard and he's putting out this image that is so strong, and he's so charming and confident. And so it was really important to me that we saw this other other side of him that no one else is supposed to see.
Well, thank you, Austin. Nice to meet you.
Will, thank you so much. It's great to talk to you.
You too. Like.